It's the greatest find yet. Nothing compares to it.
But it's definitely something you should hear.
This is The Real Deal with Larry Lawton.
Welcome to The Real Deal with me, Larry Lawton. We have a great show. I am in jail. Yes, I am in jail at the Escape Company in Savannah, Georgia. We're going to have a great time today. I have a special guest. I have Dana Williams, who's the mayor of Thunderbolt, which is the town in between Savannah, Georgia, and Tybee Island. So we are going to start this show, and he's a real interesting guy, very nice guy. This guy has political will. We need this guy, and I'll talk about him in a minute. Before I get started, please check us out on all of our platforms. Check out the book, Gangster Redemption, our cigars with Oliva. And I will always thank our sponsor, Oliva Cigars. They are the best, everybody. So they are the ones that make this happen. Oliva Cigars, thank you. Best company I know, third largest cigar company in the world. And thank you. Okay, let's jump right in. Hey, thank you for coming, Dana.
Larry, thanks for having me, buddy. Great to be here.
You know, before I start, I'd like to also thank the Escape Room run by Wendy Rossi, a very close friend of mine. We are in Alcatraz, a room in the Escape Room. Got me a little bit chilly, to be honest. I mean, there's people behind me that's scaring me. I mean, I got a guard in front of me. I got Rob, and I got you, and I got Nick. I mean, I'm looking at the height boards. The only thing that's making me feel okay is there's a computer screen. Because I didn't have a computer screen in prison. But I was actually in a prison that was older than Alcatraz. When I was in Atlanta, it was built in 1903. Wow. So that was weird. And I'm actually looking at Al Capone's picture. And just for a historical note, one of my fans actually wrote me and said, Larry, you're pretty cool. He goes, you're on the same website as Al Capone. And I go, what? And I am actually on the website of Atlanta Penitentiary, and Al Capone was in Atlanta Penitentiary, and I actually knew what cell he was in. So that's pretty weird, but I didn't know I was on the way. They have me as one of the famous inmates there. So I don't know how famous you are. How about infamous? Maybe a little bit better word. Well, let's talk to you. Dana Williams, you know, I got to talk to you a little bit at the bar and just discussing politics and stuff. You had, first of all, you mentioned a great saying you have, and I want you to mention. I don't want to take credit for you because this is a saying I'm going to start using. But can you tell what you believe?
Man, absolutely. Man, when it comes to government, I have my first rule is facts, not feelings. You know, we have to make decisions based on facts, and that doesn't mean that feelings don't come into the mix. But the big thing is all the decisions we make have to be based factually, and it's not about me. It's about us. And I think far too many people, when they get in government, it's about themselves, and it's much bigger than that. I feel like when I got elected, I forfeited my right to my personal beliefs as it pertains to policy making because it's not about me. It's about the greater good. It's about all of us. And that's where I feel like, you know, the facts come in, and doesn't mean we don't have empathy for people and we don't think about those things. But my feelings and elected officials' feelings should never take precedence over the facts at hand.
Well, you know, first of all, you have feelings. You're very, obviously very intelligent man. We spoke long enough, and we're both history junkies. And I heard a lot about what you did for your city, and we're going to let you get into that, and the money you saved. But when I look at politicians, the first thing I always look at is I think most politicians come into office, and the first thing they do is they come in with the right intention. But I think the system corrupts them. I'm not even saying I wouldn't be corrupted. I mean, you know, start throwing, you know, $20 million, $50 million at these guys. Because every one of these guys go into Congress or Senate, and they go in broke, and they come out worth $20 million or $30 million. I would like to believe now I'm at the point in my life, I don't think I would even do that. But take you. You're a young guy. You're under 50. If you want to say your age, you can say your well.
Today's my birthday, 48.
Happy
man.
birthday!
Proud of it. Absolutely.
Happy birthday, man! Very much so. And,
it's a great present right here.
Well,
Thank
you really look young too, though. But you actually have such very middle of the road. We said at the bar, and I think most people are this. I am very socially liberal, but very fiscally conservative. I don't want my money wasted, but I don't care what another person does in their own home. I think everyone should have the freedoms and the liberties to do what they want. You have the same kind of what is your political affiliation?
Man, it's common sense, fiscal responsibility, and there's really, I believe, too much personal input as far as like with the personal beliefs, the way people inject. I'm not here to inject my will or my feelings upon people. And we are literally like the CEO of the company or the town that we're running. And we have a fiscal responsibility. We're a fiduciary to the town. And, as far as setting policy and things like that, I don't really have to deal with that as the mayor, thank goodness, on this level, but I will in the future. But
Oh, absolutely. You have to look like that. Are you affiliated with a party?
I am a Republican, registered Republican. But kind of like George Washington said as well, that he was fearful that party politics would destroy the nation, and I do believe that when it comes to my side, your side, and not meet in the middle, that is a huge stepping stone, or excuse me, a huge stumbling stone for having any real progress take place or things getting done when we can't actually have a conversation and listen with the intent to understand and not the intent to respond because that's what your party told you to say, or that's what, when we stop listening to one another and trying to find a common ground, the people suffer. And that's what we were elected to do, was serve the people, not ourselves. And I think that's a huge thing that we need to address. If we're gonna grow.
You're very, very obviously refreshing to me because what I see as I speak to a lot of politicians, I've been recognized on the floor of Congress, I've been up there, and I understand politics very well. I was a young Republican, I was a Democrat, now I'm a libertarian because I think parties, like you said, I think parties hurt people. You should be able to take the best of the Republican Party and the best of the Democratic Party, and that's why I say I'm fiscally responsible and socially liberal. You can't take abortion that a friend of ours, Rob, who's here, we were all talking about. That's a woman's issue. I can't see where religious rights or the woke left, however you want to call it, is running this country the way they are, and that's the downfall. Now, how does a person like yourself, who's first of all, you're doing great. Let's talk about your own city right now. Is this your first delve into politics at all?
So I did serve on city council for 4 years prior to running for mayor. Been mayor for a little over a year and a half. And, one of the first things, I was a firefighter as well before, which is what kind of thrust me into politics because I was a firefighter in Thunderbolt. And I saw some things that I wanted to change. And, my dad taught me as a kid, if you want to, don't talk about it, be about it. And if you see something and all you do is complain, then you're nothing more than just more of the problem. And so I saw a need and saw, I thought I could be a positive influence on it, so I did. And one of the things I did immediately when I got elected was I went down to town hall and I talked to all the staff and I said, it shouldn't take, if we have already approved something, let's just say a fence. You want to build a fence, and that fence has already been approved by planning and zoning. The materials, the height, everything it's already been approved. You shouldn't have to go before planning and zoning, wait a month for them to meet, tell them what you want, have them tell you it's not right, you got to redo it and come back, and then there's another month, and then you got to come before council another month just to build a fence. The red tape, it's irritating. So I asked the town, I said, listen, guys, I want y'all to go through and bring me a list of everything that we can cut out, the red tape. Let's stop this mess. If somebody needs to get a permit and it's already been approved, quit making them jump through hurdles.
Give them the permit.
And so right now in Thunderbolt, there's a handful of things, I think over 40 things we found right away, where if you have all the proper documentation and the money, your check ready, you can walk in that day and leave with a permit. And, it saves time, it saves money, it saves town resources as well. So we're not paying people extra money to do things that, it's already been done. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, if you're a builder, or even even forget being a builder, a private homeowner.
Yeah.
Most people don't go through the processes because of that, and then later they say, I'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
Because they get sick and tired. Then the city loses money, and people just get more headaches when they sell houses. A lot of other issues. You went in there. You also did something that I think is very progressive. You actually found money and you gave raises to people. I love when I see people get raises, except mine. But I love to see people get raises. But
you're
you
a funny
know,
guy today.
yeah, I'm in trouble now. How did you do that? How did you actually? Did it cost your taxpayers more money?
Absolutely not. And like any good leader, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And so we have an amazing team, not just for people that work for us, but people we've hired externally to do other things as well. Because you know, you find the people that can do the job and to do it the best, and that's who you get to go after it and do it for you. But we have our town administrator he's one of the smartest, most diligent. I sometimes I want to check him out to see if he's got a battery as a robot because he never
It's one of
sleeps.
those, Nick. We talk
never
about those.
stops, man. This guy, he is just so diligent. But I hit him with a task. I said, listen, it irritates me beyond all measure to see government waste money. We're a fiduciary. It's our responsibility to be responsible. I'm not about raising taxes. I'm about, first off, as a business owner myself, let's see where we're wasting money. So we did right away. And, right when he came on, he did find where the county had some taxes that they still owed us, and which was a nice breath of fresh air right away. But we dug a little deeper and found, we had a lot of things that were double and triple redundancy that we were spending money on. And so he brought it to us, mayor and council, and we said, listen, let's run with it for 6 months. All the recommendations that he made, and if they can, if we can sustain this and do it well, then it's time to do some other things like. And before we came on, all of our employees were we had some of the lowest pay wages for all of our employees. And after we found that money, and we found that it did indeed work after 6 months, everybody in town got a pay raise. We were able to.
Everybody, the whole town.
Yeah, everybody got raises.
Wow.
And for the first time in a long time, we were able to put a substantial amount of money into our enterprise fund for future projects in an economy that's not doing great right now. And so we're going to continue to strive to do that and be smart with our money. And it's just the right way to do it,
I always wanted to ask small towns. Now, I am a small business, and obviously this company here, the Escape Company, is a small company. But we all, we pay out stuff. We have employees. How are you dealing with technology like AI? I deal with AI now. Actually, Nick, our producer here, has really opened my eyes to AI in amazing ways. It's, made me have to maybe not hire somebody, stuff like that. Is AI going to hurt your city or help your city in that regard? I mean, you're not an employment agency. You're a city.
Right.
So you might have to let go of people. You might find that technology has helped you in some way. I mean, that's got to be a tough thing for a politician. How do you weigh technology with employment and helping people?
So we are small, Thunderbolt. We're livable space. We got about 1.7 square miles, roughly 2,600 residents, and
how many employees?
With our employees, give or take, we're 20 plus or minus.
County police, fire?
County police, fire. We have, I think every position that we have right now is necessary, though, because with town government, it's not like some other things that can be kind of automated, because every position, people want to talk to somebody. And, I know nothing infuriates me more than calling and having to talk to a computer when I've got a problem. I want to talk to a person. So for me, I don't think that any technology is ever going to replace that you can pick up the phone and call and get a person when you say, hey, I got a problem with my water bill. There's an issue with my trash collection. I have, something's going on with my taxes. I want you to be able to talk to a human being for that, And that's not to say AI doesn't help us, to do some other things that are, can maybe free them up to be more productive. I'm all for that. But, as far as the human aspect of government, I think we definitely have to be hands-on. And I'm not sure replacing human beings with AI at this point is something that I think is doable because the human aspect of it.
Do you have people in your government that actually follow technology?
We do. And actually, there's another big thing that we're doing right now. And, man, so we own personally, we own Rutland Tire and Wheel. We've been in business here since 1946 and trying to embrace technology.
Family owned.
Family owned. My wife's grandfather and his grandmother started it.
Wow.
And now we're third generation and doing that. And it's been a struggle because my mother-in-law and her sister worked in that business the whole time and trying to get them to embrace technology. And now that we explain it to them and they see it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Now it works. Same thing when I came on as mayor. Our website was written, I believe, in 2006, 2007. And it kind of been doctored up a little bit in 2013. But a website built in 2013, as you well know, in 2023 is not the same. And so we have actually been redoing our entire website since day one from me being elected. So we're almost coming on our 2-year mark. And the website's about to go live, but it's been a struggle, because we kept changing and evolving. And we live in a world now where technology changes almost overnight sometimes. And
Believe me, I know. I was in
yeah.
prison for a long time. And everything changed. I couldn't make a phone call when I got out of prison. That's a true story.
I believe it, man. I believe it. But, trying to do things with the website like automated, where people can do online bill pay, where you can download all of the forms you need to build a fence or do whatever, so you don't have to take the time to get off work and make it to town hall and get this, that, or the other. We're trying to streamline and automate it to make it easier for the customer. And it's just, it's tough, but we try to stay up with the times. When I was at the fire department, things changed so rapidly. And I mean, just like a little side note, from 20 years ago, homes had legacy furniture in it, which was actual furniture made with wood and cotton and wool. Well, when you go in a room and you calculate what's called a fire load, you are calculating how much heat can be put off by the contents of the room. You're looking at now, from 20 years ago, the contents of a room, an entire room 20 years ago is contained in one Lazy Boy recliner right now. Solid state petroleum, everything it's made from is synthetic materials. So you're seeing untenable heat conditions happen in a fire within 6 to 7 minutes from where they call the incipient phase, where it starts and it's getting hot.
Now you're scaring everybody that their recliner is now their fire source in their house.
So what do we have to do? We have to educate our firefighters. We have to get them the equipment they need. We train. Our fire chief just let us know that our average response time last week, from last month, they got it down sometimes under 2 minutes, which is unbelievable, especially with the way things are going right now. And we do that by embracing technology. We do that by training. Same thing with our police officers. Every one of our police officers wears a body camera. Every one of our police officers has, and something else we did that actually I believe is a technology we forget about. We have hired for the entire town a customer service trainer to come in and train us on customer service. That's a technology that we have to have, because we are in the customer service business. That is what we do.
Well, everybody's in, just like I talk to everybody, I says, everybody's in the sales business. Everybody's in the, whether you're selling yourself, you're selling a product, you're selling a company, you're selling whatever it is, a book, a cigar, or whatever it is. That is part of it. Now, what does your city do for, does it have an industry? Is it Notorious? Is there any manufacturing? What is your source of income as a city?
So Thunderbolt, and I think you'll find you'll love this. It's from
crime-based.
Yeah, no. There we go. Well, somewhat. So at the turn of the century, we were a tourism destination. We actually had horse racing. We had a casino. Actually, the Le Mans was run in Thunderbolt. Grand Prix. They used to be race. They used to race around town in the old open cockpit cars, and because that's where there was a river, and that's kind of where everything stopped. So people came to Thunderbolt. We had these. It was a really cool place. But then, after World War I, World War II, and then they started building, train tracks and bridges, and people could go out to the islands and get to Tybee. We kind of lost that industry. So then it was reborn into a shrimping and fishing industry. And so our town right now, that most of the people still alive now remember, is 100% water-based. It's shrimping, it's fishing, and which is why after a 20-year hiatus, when I got elected mayor, we used to have this humongous celebration called the Blessing of the Fleet.
Oh, that's done in a lot of cities.
And it was amazing. And everybody kept talking about doing it. you know.
Fort
Like,
Lauderdale, Florida has it. I
Yeah.
used to go to it every year.
and like I just told you, don't talk about it, be about it. So when I got elected mayor, I said, I want to do it. Let's do it. I want to do it. Now I want to do it this year. And I want to do it in 3 months. And everybody looked at me like I had a fourth head growing out of my shoulders. Like, dude, you're crazy. It's never going to happen. It wouldn't have unless, I was introduced to one of the most amazing, hardworking, dedicated people I've ever met in my life. Mary Ann Gannon-Popel with Simply Savannah Marketing. We hired her, and I literally gave her what seemed like an insurmountable task. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to bring back 50 years of tradition, hadn't been done in 20 years, and I want you to do it in 2 months, and here's the budget. It's nothing, do it. And so...
Wow, that's pretty... I want her.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, and you know what? In less than 3 months, I gave it to her and her team, and we pulled it off. They did. They came in the 9th hour. We got, or 11th hour, whatever you want to call it. It was done, and it was so successful the very first year. We had over 3,000 people show up, man. We had over 40
Your town
vendors.
only has 20-something hundred people, right?
Yeah, and then we just came off of our second year in a row, and we think, 6,000 people visited, and we had almost 100 vendors. It's just growing by leaps and bounds, and
Blessing in a fleet is a known thing in most fishing towns.
absolutely.
Fort Lauderdale has. I'm not sure if Melbourne, Florida. Maybe Wendy will tell me. Wendy, do you know? Do they have the Blessing in a fleet in Melbourne? No, they don't. Fort Lauderdale does, I know, and they have it up north in a couple of places. Obviously on Long Island in New York, they have it up near Fire Island. And it's because the fishing fleets go out, and especially in Alaska. I was in Alaska for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I was in the Coast Guard, Hawaii to Alaska. We did 3 months in Hawaii, 3 months in Alaska. And we used to rescue those boats you see on the show.
Oh, yeah.
On the Deadliest Catch. They used to give us the lobster, too. That was great.
Nice.
Oh, the big crabs and stuff. Oh, my God. I love that. But that's amazing. So have you guys calculated what the economic impact of something like that is?
It's been tremendous, and it's the beauty of it too, and it's sad, but the fishing fleet is gone. There's only 1 or 2 shrimp boats left. I think there's only 1 across the river, maybe 2. But the reason we're doing it, you and I being history buffs like we've discussed, remembering your heritage and remembering your history is how you preserve who you are. People move there because they love our town. But if we forget who we are and we don't celebrate our humble beginnings, because now we are kind of a destination for the Airbnb, tourism coming in. We have a great restaurant scene in Thunderbolt. People love coming here, but people love it because it's quiet and it's safe. And you can walk out your back door sometimes at 9 o'clock at night and not hear a single thing.
And you're close to Savannah for the big nightlife, and
Absolutely.
even Tybee Island for more water stuff and stuff like that, I would think.
For sure. We're centrally located in Chatham County and Thunderbolt, where you can almost be anywhere in Chatham County in 30 minutes.
I know. I robbed the jewelry store here because you can be out of here in 30 minutes.
Love it.
But I really didn't mean it. Robbed. There was a bad one. It was a Freedman's. But, it was a chain.
What was your take?
My take was small. It was only
good.
$250,000 on that one. Yeah, it was a small
Just
store.
small $250,000.
Small $250,000. It was a fun store. I went back and did the reenactment. But it's so I have a little bit of a place in my heart for this area. I want to give back myself.
A place in your wallet too, right?
That's why they have me in the jail here in the escape company. I'm literally in Alcatraz.
Oh my goodness.
I can help you there too. But no, Mayor, you listen. You start out here in a town. You obviously have some visions. You bringing things to a place and obviously getting things done with the resources you have, not raising taxes, doing the things. We need people like you in a higher office. We need people like you, whether it's in state government, and in my mind, federal government, because again, I kind of got jaded to federal government because as a man who's 60, I'll be 62 in October, and I look at it and say, wow, what is wrong with these countries? Every time we get a politician you think is going to do good, they get, they follow party lines. And here's what I mean by that. You can't tell me if any politician ever says to me, or, oh, look at my voting record. It's 100% Republican. I will never vote for that person. Or 100% Democrat. Because you can't tell me that out of all the ideas the Republicans have and all the ideas the Democrats have, that you don't have good ideas on both sides.
Right.
And in the minute you start following some leader by voting that way because you want your thing passed, we're missing the boat on what you guys or politicians should be doing for us. I have a hard time even getting in again because I used to be corrupter of politicians. I'm not going to get into that part of it. See, my assistant, Nick, over here on the board, talks to me, says, I don't vote, Larry, because you tell me how you used to buy politicians. Well, it was different. No, it's really probably not different. No. That's why I'm in jail already. But the right here, sitting here, how do we get a guy like you? And how do you, and this is a tough question, how do you stay true to you? And I know it, don't give the stock answer. You know, oh, I'm a good God-fearing man, whatever it is. You know, you might be, but I don't know.
That is, you know, I like to think that.
You get what I mean. I do. How does a guy like you, who totally very smart guy, believe me, I spoke with you a while. I pick up on things. I analyze like we all do. You have a gift, and you hate to see a gift wasted. We hate to see the gift wasted in any way. How do you stay true to you?
So, you know, to break it down a little bit, unfortunately, to play the game, and I say that very loosely because I don't take this as a game at all. But in order to be in politics, it takes money, and it doesn't just take a little bit of money; it takes a great deal of money. And I can assure you, with my immense $400 a month salary that I get right now from being the mayor, there's definitely no money to be made in it.
But I'm going to stop you real quick because you're right. It takes money and immense money. I get that. It does take money and it takes immense money. Well, listen, when you put money up, anybody, you want a ROI. And all of us in this room know what ROI is, return on investment. Call it that. Where do you justify or how? I used to tell politicians this. Hey, listen, I'm going to help you get in office, but do the right thing. I often tell people I've never, as much as I dealt with politicians and got a lot from them, I never asked them to do something that was against the city, best interest. You know, like do it for me and it's going to hurt the rest of the city or the budget or do something. It was always for the better, at least what I thought was the betterment. I might have been on the right side of that betterment, of course.
For sure.
That's my ROI.
That's what every Gotham villain has ever said.
See how they would think? The young audience,
Yeah.
Gotham.
Right.
But I get you, Nick, and you're right. How does a guy like him, obviously intelligent, how does he convince a guy like you, who's 26, you're the new voter, you're the new guy making money, how does he convince you to vote for him, even to go to the booth, honestly?
Make the lines shorter.
There you go.
Oh, make the line
Make
short.
the line shorter, for sure.
See how, I mean, believe it or not,
being honest.
I listen to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I listen to that. This kid's not going to wait online for 6 hours like you and I would, Rob.
Exactly.
You know, it's not, and
Not
I get
a
it.
chance. Not a chance.
And that's being honest. That's
Yeah.
one thing Nick does for me. He gives me the truth. I might think it's, what are you, crazy? No, that's what they think.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not, whether I think it's crazy or not, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
And now, how do you, as a 48-year-old, who I really do think have a bright future, how do you convince him and me? How do you convince the 26-year-old and the 60-year-old to not only just vote for you, that you're going to do the right thing?
So to back up one thing, I would like to answer a question about the money part of it. So one thing that I did, I've been very fortunate. I have a lot of people who do believe in me. And it didn't take a lot of money to run for mayor, but the money that I did raise, I made sure to tell every single person, and it goes without saying, but I said it anyway because I mean it, that I appreciate you donating this money to help me run for office. I hope you know this doesn't mean that you get any special favors. Don't come asking me for anything. I get people call me all the time and say, Mr. Mayor, I got a speeding ticket in your town. Can you help me? I say, yeah, quit speeding. But,
That's a good answer.
I don't do the judge's job. I didn't hire him. I didn't hire him to do his job for him. So, you know, if I feel strongly enough that I want to help you, I'll go with you to court and ask the judge, as long as you weren't ugly to the police officer.
Sure, no, obvious.
But you know, going back to it though, is everybody knows, and I will continue to say this, is your money's not going to buy influence over me and the way I do my job, because ultimately, not only do I answer to the people, but I answer to myself. And I can't do this with my conscience. And it's funny, my wife, she always tells me, I can never cheat on my wife because I tell her everything. I can't, it's just like I
never
got
had
guilty
that
conscience,
issue.
I love it. But it really does, though. It comes back to, you're letting the people know. And does that mean you can't pick up the phone and call me? Absolutely. No, you pick up the phone and call me. You can tell me. And I did. I had a guy who donated, a nice amount of money to something, and he called me about something and asked me to do him a favor. And, I looked into it, and I called him back, and I said, man, it's just absolutely, I cannot make it happen. I'm so sorry. And I said, one, would you like for me to give your money back? Or he said, no, he kind of took offense. He said, Nick, if I need something else, I'll call you. He said, but the fact that you had the integrity to tell me no makes me respect you even more.
Absolutely.
And so
I tell people this, and I donate, and I do a lot of things with politicians, and I say, I have a lot of influence, even though I don't vote because I'm a felon, but I have a lot of influence with the position I hold, and I say, listen, all I ask is you answer my phone.
Sure.
And hear it out. That's what I think a connection is. As long as you'll hear me with an open mind.
Sure.
And then tell me the no, the yes, the right or wrong. And I will respect it, and everybody else will. I think people respect upfront people.
Right.
I always was that. Sometimes it didn't help me well. See, that's the jail here. We're in the jail. But this is the only jail that we have the guard or the warden bringing us drinks.
Love it.
That's the best. That's the best jail on the planet. Oh, look at that. That's my girl.
Oh, is this for me?
Oh, that's Dana's?
Thank you.
This is Dana's?
Oh, thank you. I could get used to doing these kind of interviews.
Yeah, I could too. Wendy. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
That is our host, Wendy, just supplying drink.
Absolutely.
She's the best. She really is. No, back to you, Dana, because as a man who likes, I guess I hate to say likes, I understand politics.
Sure.
But we need politics or politicians that have that integrity. And how do people know about you? How do they get to know about you? Obviously, you're reckoned in a small town, and as a businessman, it's very impressive, and it should be. Because if you can't run a business, how am I going to ask you to run the country,
Absolutely.
or run a city or state or whatever even your town? What would you do differently in today's politicians that you see out there? Let's face it. Let's be honest. There's a lot we see of just combativeness. One argues against the other. It seems like it's just to argue. Yeah, and it's always the same ones. Whether it's a Jim Jordan or will you agree with one thing I say? I think if I said the sky was blue, he would say, no, it's not, it's black. Just to do that. And how do you break into that?
And I think you just touched on a huge point that ties right back into the question you asked me, is how do I get the younger generation to vote? To answer your question about the voting lines, unfortunately, the government that's actually handled by the Board of Elections. And the Board of Elections is mostly volunteer. And so you have volunteers that show up to work, and they don't show up a week early to do a pregame trial or practice or make sure the machines are, and so they have problems, and the machines crash, and you've got people who are mostly retired people who, quite frankly, probably aren't as up to date on electronics as the younger generation.
You don't have to say it; they aren't.
Right. And
so would you make it a pay? I think, first of all, I personally believe every election day should be a holiday.
Yeah, I do.
I think it should be a holiday.
And to get people involved, though, I really feel like, and this is a difficult thing to do, but you have to get them engaged. And to be engaged, you actually have to feel like it matters. And I asked some of my employees and some people that I know, why don't you vote? Doesn't matter anyway. Doesn't matter.
That's Nick. That's
nothing
Nick.
I do. But on the flip side, though, in local government, it 100% matters. Because in local government, it directly affects how, you may think, I don't vote for the president. He doesn't really do anything that affects me personally directly. It doesn't affect me, Dana Williams. But I guarantee you, your mayor and your town council and your county commissioners and all the people that you vote for locally directly affect you. And that's a good place to get started is in local government and pay attention
You're
to
there,
how it
though,
works.
Dana. And you're right, and you're doing the things that I would love to see. Now, but I also know that you first of all, you're right. If I want a street light because people are having accidents out here, you're going to go to your local government. They're going to put that there. Obviously, it means something. But when you take a person like yourself, who I believe, maybe I'm wrong, and I hope you have aspirations to go higher, because whether it's a state government, whether it's a federal congressional seat or Senate seat or something, you're in the state of Georgia. State of Georgia, obviously, we know it's all over the news. Has election issues. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a whack job on one side, and you got the other guy, the black preacher on the other side, and I'm like, what is going on in Georgia? I mean, can we get somebody middle of the road? I mean, I'm a Floridian, and I know what's going on in Georgia. That's not good, I'm sorry, guys,
Yeah.
that's not good. And then you hear the president calling for 11,355 votes, and then this guy. It's like, what is Georgia? Like, it used to be Florida.
Yeah.
Florida used to be the laughing stock to every late night show. But lately, I think
Florida
Georgia's
man was
giving us a
big.
run
Florida
for
man
our
was
money.
big. But you know what? It's just to get a little philosophical for a second. I try to live my life by a maxim, and whether you're religious or not, I look at Jesus Christ as the Son of God. The message I love is that He came here and washed other people's feet, and back then when you did that,
It was actually prisoners' feet.
exactly, but that was what the servants did. And if for me, Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, came to this earth and washed other people's feet, who am I to think I'm any better than that? So I have to stay humble. And I believe, honestly, especially with career politicians, when you get there and you surround yourself with people who they want what you have, they want to make you happy, they have political aspirations and career goals that they want to move up, so they don't want to make you mad. And you can say, hey, this is a nice bottle of Chianti wine. Yes, sir, it sure is. I don't want that. And I think we, as people get in that position for long enough, they start believing the hype. They start thinking they're bigger than they really are. They forget that they are just an elected leader among equals. And they surround themselves with people that are echo chambers, which is what social media has done as well. Me, I want to hire people that aren't afraid to challenge me. That's why I love Mary Ann. That's why I love Bob. That's why I love the people I have in my life. I encourage my employees to do the same thing. Don't be disrespectful, but challenge me if you don't agree with me, because it keeps me honest, and it actually keeps me humble, because I don't need to believe that I'm bulletproof, that I'm unstoppable, that I know everything, because I don't.
You need to hire Nick, because he does that to me every day. Because I hear it every day. Shut up, like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I just want to hear him right once.
Just one time. Just one time.
He's gonna. Hey, look. Did you see the look? You see the look?
What I love about Mary Ann, when I tell her something, she's got this look. She's like, yep, and it's like, that's her polite way of saying, no, you're wrong. Yeah. You're dead wrong.
You say that. You say that it is true.
It is.
I
really
check
is.
myself, because I get, our egos get in the way. A lot of things always get in the way, and it's good to have the people around you who check you. I mean, need to be checked sometimes, always. But you're right. I mean, and you have to go against what they say sometimes.
Sure, you do.
Because they're not the one making the decision. You are.
Right.
You're the man who has to accept the consequence for that decision. So, at what point now? How long you have left to serve, and where do you see yourself? First of all, how long do you have left to serve?
So I'm halfway through, roughly. Got about 2.5 years left on my current term, and after that, I'd like to run one more term. We've got some goals in Thunderbolt that I think is going to take a second term. And after that, there are many capable people who are interested in running for the mayor that I think would do a fantastic job. And from there, I would either like to go on to, state house, state senate, maybe even the governor, or, in Congress, in the federal government too, because if I can make a difference, if not me, then who? And I do feel like, personally, the way I approach things and the way I look at it and the way I do try to stay humble. And one thing I got a huge compliment not long ago. We had an issue, and the mayor of Savannah, Van Johnson, who happens to be a friend of mine, we're different political ideologies and different political parties. But he told a kid, he said, this man right here has a big heart, and that's why so many people like him, because he has a heart and he's open-minded. And that's something I never want to lose. It's the human aspect. And it's the same way I teach my employees with customer service is to have that empathy. Try to put myself in everybody's shoes, which is why I told you before I met you, man. I read all about you. I try to learn not only what you've been through, but, what your background is.
Oh, boy. He knows all the bad.
But at the same time, it helps me understand you, and I think that's the same way we have to be. We have to address every situation we come into, is to never forget that the decisions we make affect real people. It's not just a number. It's not a line item. It's not a bill. It's not an argument that I'm right and you're wrong and my party says I should do this. We are literally affecting the lives of human beings. And if you can't see that, maybe you shouldn't be in government.
That you make a great point, because when I talk to politicians, and I get a lot of politicians, congressmen or future congressmen, they'll call me, they'll want to come on the show, they want to talk to me about supporting them, or maybe doing shout outs or something on something. And first I ask them a few basic questions. Where do you stand on our criminal justice system? They have to align with what I believe, at least, or my audience believes in, the people. Usually my audience is going to be otherwise they're not going to be my audience. That makes sense. But where do you see on, compassion? Where do you see on criminal justice reform? Where do you see on police brutality and how it works? I'm an honorary police officer. A lot of people don't know that. And I train police officers. And I went up to St. Louis and I trained the academy. And I said, the first thing you need to do is when you make a stop, is you get out of that car and you saw a person who maybe didn't put their single light on or didn't stop through a stop sign, and you light them up, which, again, I had a discussion with police chiefs. I don't even think that should be. I think they could put that for a warning ticket through a license plate and have less interaction where you have your most issues. Is the first thing you should do is when you walk up to that car is not say, you know what you did? You rolled it. No. How about, are you all right?
Sure.
I'm just checking to see if you're all right, because most people get hit when they roll through a stop sign. If you are all right, then I just want to talk to you. Can I see your license and registration? Gives you, you come back and you might say, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but I just want to warn you, if you don't put your single light on when you make that right, people hit you in the back, and I don't want to see you get hit. That person you just spoke to, that officer who just spoke that, because they're going to come home and say, wow, that officer was nice. He did the right thing. He tried to help me. But when you go, you rolled it, give me your license and registration, by a 22-year-old punk who is talking to a 45-year-old man, and the guy's going to say, who's this kid, this piece of shit, talking to me like I'm some,
Right.
So it's a way of talking to people. And I talk about that with future politicians. Where do you see it? Where do you see we have such a us against them mentality in today's society, with law enforcement, with the community, with people of color and people of authority, immigration issues? There's so many major, I'm not going to ask you the major issues at this point, but I always ask, where do you see yourself on criminal justice? I mean, we all know, and I think in this room, and we talked enough outside before the show, nobody's perfect. I mean, you show me the perfect man. That is the Jesus Christ, if there is a Jesus Christ. I'm not going to go into that whole discussion. Maybe there's an Allah. Who knows? I don't know any of this. Maybe there's a Martian up there that's really running the shit. But where do you see yourself on that?
So, if I may answer that with something that just happened in Thunderbolt, and it goes back to the customer service training, and I'll get into why. We recently had a kid who just came here from Atlanta, young African-American male. He grew up in an affluent neighborhood, so he didn't really, he had never really have seen, the I would say racism or the prejudice, And anyway, he's walking home. He was at work, and then he walked over to the gym, and he's walking home like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, back to Savannah State, which is half in Thunderbolt in Savannah. as he's walking down the road, a dog comes out and starts chasing him. And kid takes off running. As he's running, he drops his cell phone. He drops his shoes. He loses one shoe. He jumps a fence. And now, take in mind, this is midnightish and young black male. So he goes and he just starts knocking on people's doors like, please, I need help. I need help. What? He happens to knock on the door of a single white female. And she's like on the Ring camera, and she said, I'm not opening the door for you. Go away, because you see somebody banging on the door, that's just the way it was. And so meanwhile, she calls the neighbor instead of, they call the police, but then she calls the neighbor who comes out, and then he immediately takes the defensive and starts screaming, I'll shoot you. I got a gun. You don't need to be doing this, that, or the other, and blah, blah, blah. So they didn't know the situation. The police actually pull up, and it happens to be a very seasoned veteran that's been a police officer for many, many years. And he pulls up, and instead of going into back to customer service training, you put the human being, the individual first. Officer Foreign looks at this kid and can read, and he's smart enough to see he's in distress. He's not a criminal. He's not trying to break into somebody's house. He's scared. Exactly. He's terrified. So what does he do? He diffuses the situation. He actually gets the kid laughing. He understands that he doesn't have a phone, so he takes his personal cell phone out. He calls the mother, and it breaks my heart that the first thing the mother said was, son, are you okay? Are you being put under arrest? And so, that's just, it's tough. I can't imagine.
I understand it, though.
I do.
I understand.
I do. So
that's
not
what
only
I tell my kids.
Yeah, for sure, right? And so
what did you do?
Not only did our officer, he took the time to let this kid call his mom, got him calmed down. He's laughing, They go find his shoe in the backyard. They go hop the fence, go back out in the street. They find a cell phone that had unfortunately been run over by a car, And then Officer Foreign goes a step further. He picks the kid up. Well, the gates are locked on the backside of Savannah State, so he has to drive through Savannah. So he gets in the car, drives the kid through another jurisdiction, gets him to the house. And then once he gets to the house, he makes him call his mom again and says, I'm home, Mama. I'm safe. And so, the next day, I get the mother's phone number, and I call her and talk to her. And then she breaks down, and she was like, you just don't understand. We're black. We don't get this type of treatment. And I said, ma'am, you're not black. You're a human being first, to me and to our officers. And I just wanted to let you know your kid's okay. And we went and met with the kid the next day. And I actually went to our police impound and found a bike that had been up there for a year or so. And I took it and went and bought the stuff it needed to get all fixed up. And 2 days later, I drive over and give the kid a bicycle and say, "Hey, now you can outrun the dog."
But would you? But there's a good question there. But there's a good question, and I understand it because I have a friend, older friend, 70 years old, who's an African American, and he said to me, Larry, he goes, you don't want to live in my skin for 1 week. He goes, how many times I've been pulled over at a gas station and profiled. And I get that part of it, but what if you did that for a white kid?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing.
The reason I ask you that is because I love what you did. Sure. Obviously, you're breaking down that us against them or the African American. But sometimes we forget that, even as a white person, I hate to call it reverse discrimination, but it's just discrimination, period. And you'll see a person who's now a white guy not get the job, or a black, or just because he's white and the guy's black and they have to hire the black guy. I'm not for any of that. I am for you are a human being.
Right.
You do the right job, I'm going to hire you. Who's next? If you could pass the test higher than this guy, I'm going to take you. I'm not looking at that little, everybody thing. And I do get it. I do understand the situation more than most because I was, people ask me all the time, they go, Larry, you were in prison, in the roughest prisons in the United States. You were in Atlanta. When I went to Atlanta Penitentiary, I went from Lewisburg Penitentiary, and they go, wow, what did you do? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, you're going to Atlanta. And this is back in 1997. I said, so? He goes, you know where you're going? Yeah, Atlanta. He goes, that's the worst prison in the system, man. Even the guards, everybody, there's only 15% white. So I often tell my black friends, I said, listen to me, you guys don't even know what it's like to be to a black guy. They go, prejudice. I go, you don't know what prejudice is. And they go, Lawton, what are you, crazy? I said, listen to me. I know what it's like to be a black guy. I was 15% a white guy in the worst prison in the prison. Even the guards were 85% for 2 years. But you know what they say, Nick? Hold on. You know, I say to them, you know what though? You'll never be white. He'll never be white. So he doesn't know that sometimes the reverse discrimination, how does it feel to be on that side of the coin? So I know what it's like to be on both sides of the coin, at least for 2 years. How many times have you been in
I'm not making that assumption. I'm not saying that, you know. I'm not the one.
But no, you thought Wendy was black.
I think a lot of people are black, dude.
Wendy, he thought you were black. I know. No, he thought I was black. When he first met me, he goes, is he a black guy? I don't know why he thinks everybody's black. He comes from a black neighborhood, I think, maybe in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
So I messed with him hard enough. Look, are you feeling good enough about that?
Yeah.
But honestly,
honestly, on your end of it, yeah.
When you get back to it, it's the human being, and
can I, before you even start, I want to shout out to that officer, whoever that officer's name. What was his name?
Corporal Mike Foran.
Good for you, man, Corporal. You did something to me that opens people's hearts and eyes. Even if you didn't mean whatever you did right. And you're right. It's a seasoned officer. He didn't feel threatened. He hopefully talked to those other two people who are the house owners and said, hey, listen, this is what happened. And the kid's all right. There's a dog chase. We got to call the dog pound. But good for him. I mean, he did the right thing. And he needs to be recognized. And I'll tell you one thing. When I got my police badge, people ask me, Larry, why'd you accept the badge? You're known as, your word, you're a convict, you're everything. I said, I'll tell you why I did it. I says, because the police chief where I got my badge, he doesn't give out awards for the most arrests. He gives out awards for who changes a flat of a person. He gives out awards for who speaks at the most schools. He gives out awards for who speaks at churches. He gives out awards for positive things. He goes, Larry, if I give out awards for the most arrests, I'm going to have bad arrests because they want to please the police chief. A police department is the only department that you have to make change from the top down, not bottom up, because they all want to please the chief of police. So the only way to do that is to change the police. Well, this guy was a police chief for 25 years. The average duration of a police chief in any department is 3 years.
3 years.
And he is 25. He just retired, and I was at his retirement. And he's the one who gave me my badge. He came to Florida and vetted my program and vetted me. And he's one of the nicest guys in the world. Awesome. So that's just where I learned my law enforcement on that side. I know the bad side. That's the easy side for me. That I was a success at for a lot of years, until I wasn't. But getting back that now, you did that with your law enforcement. So you are very progressive, I would say, in law enforcement. And
I would say, just like with vehicles, I work on vehicles for a living. Preventative maintenance. Same thing with the doctor. They tell you you're going to pay for it now or pay for it later. Your health, Same thing with relationships between races, relationships between police, relationships, even with the criminal justice system. Preventative maintenance is a great tool, and I think a lot of things, if we address them now and actually do the preventative maintenance types things that, could perhaps prevent those types of things. And I know
I have a program for your city.
Absolutely.
I'll give it to you.
Perfect.
I have a program. My program is a preventative maintenance for young people. And it's got the highest success rate in the country. That was recognized in Congress. So, but yeah, you're 100%. I'm all for preventive.
I talked to many years ago when I was at Georgia Southern. I had a great honor of talking to a man by the name of John Douglas. John is the man who invented criminal profiling for the FBI. He was actually the. If you see the movie Silence of the Lambs, Agent Starling's
Love
boss.
it.
Oh yeah. So Agent Starling's boss is who they mirrored. Right. But so John was the technical advisor for that movie, and they wanted him to play the role of her boss, but the FBI said no. But in talking to John, who had spent thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of hours talking to all these hardened criminals to try to understand. You know, he told me one thing. He said, Dana, once you reach a certain level, and I'm sure you can back this up, being, you know, from being in jail and prison. He said, there's a certain point that once people reach, there's just no coming back. But he said the majority of people who are in prison, they can be reformed, you know.
True.
And to answer your question about, you know, how I feel about, you know, the prison system and criminal justice, you know, maybe if we had more things, because you are a perfect example of what can happen if somebody wants it bad enough. And it's amazing that you even did what you did in a system that, you know, like you said, I mean, there's so many things that you're not supposed to do. You're not supposed to have any enjoyment of any type, you know, if you will, and things like that. You know, but maybe instead of treating, especially people who, we're not talking about rapists and murderers and people who are too far gone, if you will, you know, not saying.
That's true. That's true. I agree with
But
that.
you know, maybe if you take the people like yourself and other people, and instead of treating them like cattle that are serving a sentence, you know, maybe we try to help them become, and I know there are some programs out there and people are getting a little bit better at it, but not treating them like a number and not treating people like non-human beings, because once you break somebody, and I've hired several people at my business who are former inmates, because I always believe in giving somebody a second chance.
Good for you.
And the thing that I find most is that the institutionalization that happens to them, it takes a long time to get it back out, you know, and you have to be very patient with them. But I've also found that they're some of the most appreciative people I've ever hired, and they want so bad just to be accepted, to be needed, you know, and because I feel like there's a void that when you're in there, you're not only are you not needed, you're told you're worthless and you don't matter, you know, and you're just a number. And to me, what are you producing when they get out?
You know, you said a few things I have to touch on. Just because what you know, you are the kind of guy for the job, and I'll tell you why. It's so true what you just said. The word rehabilitation doesn't come up enough. There are people who need to be rehabilitated. They get rehabilitated, but who hasn't made a bad choice? I don't know. Secondly, I remember telling one young kid, and I help a lot of ex-cons as well. He gets out of prison. I said, here's what I want. He said, Larry, I need a job. I really need a job. I knew a friend who had a lawn service company. I said, listen, I'm going to get you a job. And I said, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to show up every day at work. I want you to not complain and do your job and be respectful to everybody. He goes, Larry, that's easy. I said, I know. Just do it. He not only did that, in 6 months, the owner was going away on vacation. He goes, can you run the crew? He says, sure. He ran the crew. And after he came back a few months later, the guy never complained, showed up every day, did good work. The owner said, hey, listen, I got this little 10-unit apartment complex I can't do. He goes, do you want the contract? The guy goes, I don't have a mower. He goes, you got a pickup truck. I'll sell you a mower and I'll sell you a weed eater, whatever, a weed whacker. He goes, you can pay me back, but you can use the truck because they put it up in the truck. He goes, but you have to do it on weekends and you have to stay with me for 6 months. I said, sure. Did exactly what he was told. Did that complex. Now, today, the kid's a multi-millionaire. He has a complex in Boca Raton. He has his own company with 3 crews that go around, and he does like outside golf courses and stuff. And he needed a second chance. He got the second chance.
So amazing. I love
and
those
what you're
stories.
doing to somebody, thank you for doing that. And they appreciate it. I often tell ex-cons who I deal with and even hire, and I'll say to them, listen, you got your chance. There's no more seconds.
Yep.
This is your second. So don't fuck it up.
Absolutely.
And now, and I've seen him fuck it up, and I've seen it. And to end on that note, let me tell you why that happens. I used to own horses, you know, riding horses. That's a long story. I watched the movie Lonesome Dove, and I wanted horses, and I called the guy who worked for me. I said, Tommy, we're going to buy a horse. He goes, where's it racing? I said, it's not a race, it's a horse. He goes, well, what track's it running at? I said, shut up, get the car. He drives the car to me. We're in Davie, Florida, down in South Florida. It's a big horse country. And I said, Tommy, we're going to get, he goes, I don't get it yet. It's not a trotter. I says, it's a horse. You know, you ride the thing. He did. No. Well, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So we go down to the horse place, and I get in there, and I say to the guy, and here I am in slacks, a typical New Yorker. I got a Cadillac, and I'm in Bally's of Switzerland shoes. And I said, hey, listen, I want to buy a horse. He had a sign on the horse. Sign, we sell horses, and it had 3 crosses. It looked like triple cross. It looked like a KKK place, but it wasn't. It was a Christian man. To this day, I know the family. Right. Very nice. He's actually a pastor, Christian pastor, Mike Fletcher. I said to him, I want to buy a horse, but here's the deal. If I buy a horse, you got to show me how to ride it. I watched the movie Lonesome Dove. I love that movie, Lonesome Dove. He says, okay. He shows me how to ride the horse. I buy 2 horses, a trailer, saddles, branches. It cost me $50,000 when I left there. I even had the horses stalled there and everything. So the horse, this is the moral of the story. So one of my horses, you needed a tie-down strap.
Right, keep him from
because it would knock you off. He says, do you want the horse to stop that? I said, yes. He gets a beer bottle. He fills the beer bottle with warm water. He jumps up on the horse. They take the thing off. The horse rears up. He smashes the horse's head. Stop, animal lovers. Please don't write me. Please don't email me.
He didn't do it.
He does not. That does not hurt the horse. If you ever know anything about a horse, the top of the horse is like like concrete.
I had horses as a kid too.
And you know what I mean. He hit the horse. The warm water went over its head. The hoofs went out. It thought its own blood was there, and it never ever lifted its head again. Wow. The moral of the story is, we are blessed as human beings. The reason humans recidivate or go back to crime or whatever they did is because we have the blessings of forgetting or putting aside the bad that's happened to us. I was abused at 11. I don't let it run my life. I've dealt with it, push it aside, get it done. That's a blessing. It's also a blessing against us as criminals. The people who get out, they recidivate because they forget about what has happened to them and how bad it is. Nobody ever gets out of prison and says, you know, I liked it there. I think I'm going back. Nobody. Sadly, they say, before I go back, I'll kill a cop or I'll die by cop. You know what I mean? They call that suicide by cop. They don't want to go back so bad. So that's the difference between the human being and any other species. They're not going to forget. We have the ability, which is good in its own way because you could put that negative behind you, whatever it was. And we, people like yourself, and I'm glad to have met you very much so, Dana, because you're a kind of guy that's given that second chance. You guys I met today are just great guys because I could sit and talk, and I'm talking to human beings who have a heart, but like to have fun, like to golf. 2 golfers right here.
Love to golf.
So, and cigars. And what did you say about my cigar?
Man, I will tell you, man. I
have to hear
love
this.
cigars. I smoke a lot of cigars, and you know, I even told Rob, my buddy, man, when he's the one that it turned me on to your cigars, and I smoke Davidoffs. I love the Ciellos. I love the Padrones. I love all the good stuff. You know,
that's good cigars you mentioned.
Man, they're good stuff. But man, when I smoke that cigar right there, that is literally one of the best, if not the best, cigar I've ever smoked in my life. They are so easy to smoke, like you said. The problem with them is you can smoke 4 or 5 a day.
Yeah, that is my problem.
And it's, you know, and they actually they smoke so smooth, but they've got just enough bite. Because I love the good Maduro wrapper.
Yeah, well, that's a Cameroon wrapper, which
Right.
is the thinnest wrapper you can get, and it's got the most flavor.
But you know, the big thing I love about those cigars is, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is not the type of cigar that when you smoke it, you need to like scrape your tongue off to get the crap taste out of your mouth. You know what I mean? It's like
Not at all.
These cigars are not super heavy, oily. They don't leave that bad aftertaste that you can't get out of your mouth. And they smell great. They taste great. They smoke so smooth. Man,
And I didn't pay him to say that every
No,
time.
because that was the only thing that can make this interview any better is if we were smoking cigars while we were doing it.
And we're not allowed. There's no smoking, otherwise
trust
we would
me, I
be.
know. Yeah,
we
we're
will.
good. We're
And
good.
I have cigars for all. I have cigars for everybody. You know that. But yes,
Absolutely.
you know, I love him, and I'm glad to get him. Wendy, she knows. I think I sent you a box right off the jump, didn't I?
You sent me two. I gave
There
one
you
to
go.
Rob because he was
Yeah.
amazing and helped me do so much stuff at my home.
Oh, Bobby. Bobby, you do work? Come to Florida. I need a lot done. I got all the cigars you want.
Love it.
Unfortunately, I'm lumped out.
Oh my goodness. Oh my
I
goodness.
don't look like Wendy.
Oh, that's
For me
funny.
was above and beyond. He would not allow me to pay him, so I paid him in cigars.
Love it.
Excellent.
Kindest people I know.
They are great people, Wendy. You know that.
But we'll say I did look up the cigars, and after I tried them out to find out who made them, and then once I found out, you know, Oliva, they.
Oliva, they're the top company.
Oh
in the
man,
world.
I knew right then and there why it was such a good cigar.
But I
you know.
blended it.
That's what I
There's
hear.
a big
That's what
difference.
told
You
me.
know, I mean, they make them, and there's so much that goes in. I'm actually going to Nicaragua. We're going to be filming me rolling and a bunch of
I
stuff.
love it.
But yes,
You could have a
Yeah,
second.
that's
you,
gonna be-
You could have a second, your third or fourth, or how many ever career. You know, you did good with that one. That's
I
a
don't
good
know.
one.
I'm getting old. I'm done now. This is it.
You can start blending cigars. You know.
No, the blending cigars is a talent. I mean, a talent. We sat in a room and we smoked cigars for 4 hours, and I go, I like this one. I like this one. And they had master blenders in there showing me what it was about. It's an amazing process, but even they are. But anyway, anything else you'd like to talk about, Bob? I got to say this, Dana. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done a great job. I mean, your city should be proud of you. I think after hearing this and hearing your show, this is what we need. We need politicians who care, who want to keep going, who want to do the right thing. And you know you're going to make mistakes. You never said once that you don't make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Trust me, I've made them many.
And you learn from them.
Absolutely.
But we need a guy. I want one promise that you offer me the chief of staff when you become a congressman or senator.
Let's do it.
There you go. You heard it right here. You heard it here. If he wins, I get offered the chief of staff. What?
But the one thing.
Say
you
it
know,
now, Nick.
One thing I will.
Yeah. Now do it. Oh, I just want to say, you know, I know the chief of staff of a couple of congressmen very well, and they work hard. I might refuse it.
Do you really want that stress?
Who? Nah, I wish it was that easy. No. He's the kind of guy. Do you think I'd be a good chief of staff?
I don't know.
He thinks I yell too much.
With those kind of cigars and with enough cigars and whiskey, we could get some.
We can get a lot done. You know they did that a lot in
We
history.
definitely could.
They sure did.
Look what Churchill and FDR did with cigars and whiskey.
Dana, I want to thank you. And thank Bob.
you,
Thank
bud.
people. Thank your wife for popping in behind us. She is in jail with us, right? You put her in jail. I noticed that.
Rob's wife's back there.
Oh, Rob, nice. Oh, that's right. Your wife went home.
She took
Rob's
the kids back.
wife, right? Yeah.
I think she's out there making noise, but I would like to say one thing. Though.
Sure.
You asked me if I wanted to say one thing, and I will say this. And I think this is a way we could solve a lot of our problems and a lot of the issues that we have, which is one of the reasons why with Thunderbolt, one of the biggest things I want to do is community building, which is what we've done, which is why I hired Mary Ann. And what I'm trying to do is get people.
Works fit.
Which is
I'm missing this whole.
Yeah, there it is. But the big thing is that and you know as well as I do. I want people to get out of their house, put down these cell phones, turn your TV off, go out and meet your neighbors and talk to them, because that's how we break down all these barriers. That's how we break down the racism. That's how we break down all the isms out there, the Democrats versus Republicans versus the world. You talk to your neighbors, and then once you start doing that, you understand that you may have, you and I, we grew up in completely different, New York, Georgia, couldn't be, we're different, way different. But how many things do we have in common?
A lot.
And that's the thing. Yeah. That's how
from
we
history
beat,
to golf to
100%. And that's how we beat all this stuff. That's how we attack it. That's how we beat it, and that's how we win. Is you talk to your neighbors, you talk to the people, and then you find out we have way more in common than we have in difference. And that's how we start making actual change that really starts working. And I think once you do that, and once you get that ball rolling, then you get the young, the 18 to 25 to 40-year-old, whatever. And they start voting because they see it does matter, because people matter. And honestly, if we don't start treating each other like we matter, what's the purpose?
100%. I got to applaud you on that. And not only that, I often say that as well, is that, you know, if you needed help and a person needs help, I've never asked them what political affiliation.
Right.
I want to help. It's part of the heart. Now, once they tell me they're, you know, this kind of, I say, now you die. But no, I don't say that either.
Hey, and I can tell you that. I can tell you that from being a firefighter. I can tell you that. Whenever we answered calls, when police answer a 911 call, they don't say, you know, what color is the victim, what nationality is the victim, what party does the victim affiliate with. When you give blood, they ask none of those questions, because that blood,
They
as
ask
long
me
as
who I had sex with.
yeah, they do, and a whole lot of other. Hey,
And then they say, we don't want your blood.
right? Yeah, exactly. And they ask some hilarious questions. Like the girls, she's trying to ask me these questions with a straight face, and I'm laughing. But truthfully, if you got a typo negative and somebody else has typo negative, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican,
Absolutely.
white, black, Indian, Russian. Doesn't matter. It works.
Absolutely.
The human being, and that's where we win.
You know, well, Dana, we're going to follow your career, and you're going to welcome back here anytime.
Absolutely.
I hope we golf together someday.
Let's do it.
I do know if I need car issues, I'm coming to you.
Please do.
I know, you know that we talked about that on the way up here, Nick and I. That's the one profession that screws more people than anybody. If you got a trustworthy mechanic, they're worth their weight in gold.
Yes.
And I know. And I mean
true.
that is the truth. And we were reading reviews on companies. We were doing stuff, and we're going, wow, man. And how do you know?
Man, it's tough.
But I definitely do trust you. And
Yes,
Dana,
sir.
congratulations. You're a great mayor, and I think your town should be proud of you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate
Thank you for
it.
having me.
Thank
It
you,
was an honor.
everybody, for being here. Rob and your wife and my girl in the background. Oh, no. She just choked me. But you okay there, sweetheart? But anyway, everybody, please make good choices. I want to make sure everybody understands that. And
Don't touch anything. It's the
I said,
greatest find
Rob
job.
and
Nothing
Mariana.
compares to it.
I said that, did I not?
This is the real
Did I say Marianne?
with Larry Lawton.
We'll see you on our next.